Welcome to Life Stories. Today, we bring you a powerful tale of personal growth, betrayal, and the journey to reclaiming self-worth. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into building something, only to have those closest to you use it for their own gain. This is the story of one woman's journey to break free from emotional manipulation and find peace within herself. It's a story of standing up for who you are, setting boundaries, and realizing that sometimes, peace comes when you stop seeking approval from those who don't deserve it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and start today's story with us. I never imagined that one day, my own sister would publicly humiliate me in the place I had spent a decade building from the ground up. Redwood Heights Hotel, the very place I had poured my heart and soul into. The place where I spent sleepless nights, tirelessly working, pushing through each challenge. It was supposed to be my haven, a place of pride, but that evening, it became the backdrop of a betrayal that I will never forget. It was a warm September evening when Ava's birthday party was in full swing. The vibrant music echoed through the hotel's grand lobby, mingling with the laughter of people who didn't know my name, people who didn't care who I was. And then there she was, Ava, dressed in a shimmering gown, her arm wrapped around her new boyfriend, Chase. She entered the hotel like she was a queen and the space around her was meant to serve her grandeur. I was standing at the front desk, finishing up my final check before the event began. But when she saw me, her face twisted in disgust. It wasn't just the look of surprise, it was something deeper. Something cold, like she saw me as an inconvenience. As if I didn't belong there. "Oh my God, who let a homeless woman wander into the hotel?" she said. Her laughter cutting through the air, sharp and cruel. I stood there, frozen, not out of shame, but from the sheer pain of the words she had just thrown at me. This wasn't the sister I had grown up with, the one I had protected and cared for. In that moment, she was a stranger, someone who had completely forgotten our bond. She turned to the staff member standing nearby, her voice dripping with authority. "Please handle this situation. This is a private event. And we can't have anyone ruining the vibe." James, my event manager, saw what was happening from a distance. He rushed over, his face paling as he realized what was unfolding. "I'm so sorry, Miss Charlotte. I had no idea. Do you want me to cancel the event?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. I shook my head, not wanting to make a scene. "No, let them continue," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. What hurt even more was the realization that my parents were there, too, standing among the crowd, pretending like they didn't see the scene unfolding. My mother, in the dress I had gifted her the year before, stood beside my father, chatting with Chase's family. They didn't even flinch when they saw me standing there, humiliated. They simply nodded at me like I was no more than a hotel staff member. No one asked why I was standing in the corner. No one apologized. No one cared. In the lavishly decorated banquet room, with white orchids and golden ribbons hanging from the ceiling, Ava stood in the center, raising her champagne glass. "Thank you, everyone, for coming," she said, her voice sweet as honey. "And especially, thank you to my big sister Charlotte, who secretly sponsored the entire event tonight." The room erupted in applause. I stood there, numb. I had never agreed to pay a single cent for this party. But looking at my mother's satisfied expression, my father's unbothered demeanor, and Ava's smug smile, I realized something. They had all assumed I would pay for it. No one had asked me. It wasn't even a question. It was an expectation. I pulled out my phone and texted Grace, the hotel's CFO. "Check all tonight's invoices. If there's anything under my name that hasn't been approved by me, freeze it immediately." Then, I turned and walked away. No one called after me. No one asked where I was going. In that moment, I knew I wasn't family to them. I was just a means to an end, a walking wallet. As I left the room, I couldn't help but wonder how many more times they had taken advantage of me without a second thought. How many more times had I let myself be used? 3 days after the humiliation at the Redwood Heights Hotel, I received an invitation to my parents' house. I knew it wasn't a genuine invitation. It wasn't a warm family gathering. It was just another family meeting disguised as one. The two-story red brick house in North Austin looked the same as it always had. Except for one detail. The oak tree that had been in the front yard for years was gone. In its place stood a fake white bench, as hollow and empty as the morals of the people inside. My mother, Carol, opened the door with a smile that was far too formal, almost robotic. "Charlotte, you're here. Come in. We've been waiting for you," she said, stepping aside to let me in. Before I could respond, she turned and walked away, not even bothering to acknowledge the discomfort in the air. The dining table was set meticulously with the porcelain dishes my mother reserved for Christmas or serious occasions. Sitting across from me was my father, Charles, who was tearing a piece of bread like it might somehow save him from the conversation that was about to unfold. Ava, too, was present. She was wearing a fitted emerald dress, clearly proud of herself, as usual, and sitting slightly turned away, as if she needed to show off her figure. Like it was her life's most important achievement. "You know, Charlotte," Ava began, raising her red wine glass to eye level, "I think this birthday should be something on the scale of a reality TV show." Her words dripped with entitlement, and I felt the familiar knot tighten in my chest. I didn't respond immediately. I just stared at her, waiting for her to continue her performance. She was already in full swing, as if this was all part of some carefully rehearsed show. "I've talked to a few people in the event planning scene," she said, as if this would impress anyone. "And there's a rooftop space at the Villa Blue Hotel. A straight view of the Pennybacker Bridge. We could have a suspended champagne bar, a live music stage, maybe even a floral fountain." She paused for effect, then shrugged, clearly proud of her vision, as if it were the only thing worth discussing. I glanced over at my mother. She didn't say a word. I looked at my father, but he didn't flinch either. He was still gnawing on his bread, as if he didn't even care about the conversation. Ava continued, unfazed by my silence. "The estimated cost," she said, pulling out a color-printed sheet from her purse. "Around $95. But if we want to make it truly iconic, we're looking at least $110, including video production fees." I couldn't keep my emotions bottled up anymore. "You want me to pay for that?" I asked, not loud but sharp enough to freeze the room. Ava raised an eyebrow, as if she was genuinely surprised by my question. "I mean, you own a hotel," she said, a smug smile on her face. "You don't really spend much on yourself. You wear black all the time. Drive that old Honda. But me, I'm a content creator. I need to invest in my image. This is a career opportunity." A dry laugh escaped me. "I thought it was a birthday," I said, the sarcasm impossible to hide. My mother, for the first time, spoke up. She set her spoon down on the plate, the sound ringing out like a warning bell. "Ava's got a point," she said, her voice so calm it made my skin crawl. "You're in a better position. What's the harm in helping your sister out? Just this once?" I looked at her, disbelief flooding my senses. "Take care of the family or be an unlimited sponsor for meaningless shows?" I shot back. "I thought you were different. But now I see it. You're no better than Ava, thinking that I'm just a resource to be used." That was when my father finally spoke. "Let's not get too worked up, Charlotte. We're just having a calm conversation here." I shook my head, trying to hold back the tears. "Calm? You've all made plans to spend my money without asking me. And you call that calm?" Ava laughed then, that laugh that told me she had already won. "Come on, don't make it sound like I'm mooching off you. I'm not asking for pocket money. This is an investment. When the party video goes live, I'll tag you. Promote your hotel. It's a win-win." I couldn't believe my ears. I was being made to feel guilty for not wanting to foot the bill for her extravagance. "You get to be iconic. And I lose $110. Great deal." My mother sighed, a sound I had once mistaken for love. "Charlotte, you're the responsible one. Ava's the dreamer. It's not her fault you were born with a more practical head. Sisters helping each other is normal." That sentence cut through me like a blade. I wasn't a person to them. I was a walking ATM. A lifeline they only called upon when they needed something. I had finally had enough. My silence. My endless compromises. My acceptance of being the provider for a family that only saw me as a source of income. It all came crashing down on me. I wasn't going to play by their rules anymore. I was done. I looked around the table. Each face so sure of their manipulation. Ava's self-absorbed smile. My mother's practiced disappointment. My father's silence. It all made sense now. They didn't need me to be happy. They didn't need me to be their daughter. Their sister. They needed me to be their backup. Their financial cushion. The realization stung like 1,000 tiny cuts. Each one deeper than the last. Do you really think I'm going to fund this? I asked. My voice steady, despite the storm brewing inside me. Do you honestly believe that I'll just sit here and watch as you use me again and again for your own gain? No one spoke. They were all too accustomed to my compliance. To my role as the dependable, silent one who picked up the pieces and made everything work. But not anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. I'm not your bank, I said, my words calm but fierce. I'm not going to sit here and let you treat me like a walking wallet. If that's what you want from me, then I'm out. I can't keep doing this. I stood up, the motion so final that I could feel the weight of the decision settle over me. My mother looked shocked, but Ava's expression remained unchanged. She was too used to getting her way. They all were, but this time, they weren't going to have it. As I walked away from the table, I heard my mother's voice. Soft but sharp. You're not even trying to understand. Charlotte, this is family. You're supposed to help. I stopped at the door, my hand resting on the knob. No, I said, my voice firm. Helping is one thing, but being used is another. You've used me for too long. And I won't stand for it anymore. I left the house that night feeling a strange sense of relief. For the first time in years, I felt like I had control over my life again. I wasn't bound by their expectations. I wasn't their puppet anymore. I was me, just me. And for once, that felt like enough. The next day, my phone buzzed with messages. My mother sent me a text, telling me how disappointed she was in my actions. How I was tearing the family apart. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I had already made my choice. The message that followed from Ava was no different. She demanded an explanation for why I wouldn't help with her party. As if the words, no, weren't enough. I ignored it all. I didn't owe them an explanation. I didn't owe anyone anything anymore. Days passed in silence. No calls. No texts. I focused on work. On what really mattered. My hotel. My team. My own peace of mind. It was strange at first. Not hearing from them. But the quiet felt like a balm for my bruised soul. I had spent too many years living in the shadows of others, making everyone else's dreams come true while mine were trampled underfoot. But not anymore. Then, one morning, as I sat in my office at Redwood Heights, reviewing financial reports, I saw something on my phone that made my heart stop. Ava had posted a video on social media, and it had gone viral. It wasn't just any video, it was a video mocking me. There she was, in a lavish venue, looking flawless as always. On the split screen, there was me, looking nothing like the glamorous influencer Ava was, stepping out of my house in an old coat and messy hair, carrying a folder. Ava's caption read, "When you invest all your money into land but forget to invest in your image." I felt the anger bubble up in my chest. But I didn't react, not immediately. Instead, I set my phone down, took a deep breath, and reminded myself that I was no longer the person I used to be. I wasn't the one who would shrink back, humiliated. This time, I had a different approach. The next few days were a blur of silence from my family. But I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. My hotel bookings started to increase. My reputation strengthened. I didn't need the approval of my family to feel validated anymore. And that, more than anything, was the real victory. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the fame. It was about finding peace within myself. For the first time in my life, I had the clarity to see that sometimes peace doesn't come from seeking apologies or validation. It comes from setting boundaries and choosing to live for yourself. As the weeks went by, the silence between me and my family grew louder. But it wasn't the suffocating silence it used to be. It was freeing, like a deep breath after years of holding it in. The pressure to live up to their expectations, to carry their burdens without question, had finally lifted. I was no longer trapped by the weight of their manipulation. For the first time in years, I felt at peace with myself. One evening, as I sat on my porch, sipping a glass of wine and watching the Texas sunset paint the sky in hues of red and orange, I couldn't help but smile. I had done it. I had reclaimed my life. I had stopped being a walking ATM for my family. And I had learned to prioritize my own happiness. No more late-night calls demanding money. No more pretending to be someone I wasn't just to please others. I had found my voice. The next morning, as I reviewed the quarterly reports for my hotel, I received a message from my mother. I didn't even open it. The familiar guilt-tripping tone was something I didn't need to hear anymore. I had made my decision. I wasn't going to fall into the same cycle of emotional manipulation. I had set my boundaries, and they were non-negotiable. That was when I realized something profound. Peace doesn't come from waiting for others to change or apologize. It comes when you stop seeking validation from those who don't deserve it. It's about standing up for yourself, knowing your worth, and choosing to love yourself first. And that, I think, is the greatest lesson I've learned. Life isn't about pleasing others. It's about living for yourself and creating your own happiness. If you've ever felt like you're giving too much to others and losing yourself in the process, know that you're not alone. Remember to set your boundaries and prioritize your peace. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring life stories.